season. 10:6, literal Aramaic idiom, season. So that season should no longer exist. Except in the days of the seventh angel, when he is prepared to blow the trumpet, and God's sermon shall be fulfilled, or his prophecy shall be fulfilled, as it was established for his servants or slaves, the prophets. Okay, what was prophesied by them? And the voice that I, John, heard from heaven spoke to me again and said, Go and take the little book that I opened by the hand of the angel who stands over the sea and over the earth. The one who had his foot in the sea, and the one and also has his foot in the earth, on the earth. And I, John, went to the angel as I told him to give me the little book, and he said to me, Take and eat it. I don't know if he means literally eat the book. Okay, it's pretty hard to eat a book, but he's saying, like, read it, take in what had been said to you, what you're about to write down, keep it within yourself. Okay, and it will be bitter, it will upset you. Okay? If you ingest it, meaning if you take it in, except in your mouth, it will be sweet as honey, because you'll realize, wow, it's a prophecy, and this is going to lead to great things, right? Actually beneficial, for all who believe in God and in Christ, and all those who died, the saints and martyrs who were killed for their belief in the Lamb of God. And John took the little book from the hand of the angel and ate it. It's allegorical, metaphorical. And in his mouth it became sweet as honey. And as he ate it, his stomach hurt. It's all literal. It's who eats a book, right? Show me someone who can eat a book and not feel sick, right? Or have an upset stomach. And the angel said to John, You have been sanctified or made holy or blessed again, right, to prophesy over nations and over peoples and their heads and over great kings. And he said to John the Revelator, You, John the Revelator, have been sanctified or blessed, given that blessing again, to prophesy over nations and over peoples and their heads and over great kings, to reveal what's going to come up in the future for all nations and all people, okay, and their chiefs and great kings, okay, possibly information about great kings to come. Okay. James 7. Yeah. Except in the days of the seventh angel, when he is prepared to blow, and God's sermon or prophecy shall be fulfilled, as it was established for his. This is God's utterance in the form of a prophecy, shall be fulfilled, as it was established for his servants or his slaves. 10:7, literal Aramaic idiom, slaves. They're subservient to him, under whom their submission is under him. They've submitted themselves to him, i.e. the prophets of old, and the disciples and the apostles. Let's first say the prophets. That's what it's indicating. Those who prophesied all things to come. Okay, Revelation chapter 11 coming up next. Hope you find this exciting, because we get nearer and nearer to the Antichrist, the beast, etc., etc. And then you'll finally know the truth about who that Antichrist was, is, or is to come. Greetings, welcome back. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and this is the Revelation. Hello and welcome back. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and this is the Revelation of the Book of Revelation series, and we're at chapter 11, which reads, And I, John, was given a measuring reed that resembles a staff, and there stood the angel as he said, Rise and measure, or get up and measure, the temple of Allah, or God, and the altar, and to those that worship in it. Okay, so he's got to size up, get up and size up and measure the length, the width, the height of the temple of God and the altar and those that worship in that temple. Okay, he's got to count the number. And the courtyard that is outside the temple, leave it out. And do not measure it, for it is given to the nations in the holy city. They shall trample it down 42 months. Okay, so let's have a look at 1. Footnotes 11.1. Literal Aramaic idiom, also anoint. Rise and measure, or rise and anoint the temple of God. That's what it's saying here. Sanctify it, maybe. Bless it, make it holy, make it a sacred place. 11.2. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, exit from to out. And the courtyard that is outside the temple, leave it out. Do not or refrain from measuring it. That's what he's saying. For it is given to the nations in the holy city, they shall trample it down for 42 months. What is that holy city? Okay, this is the length of ministry of Jesus on earth. 11.2. Is that 3 years? Or 3.5 years? 12. 2.5 years? 3 years? Okay, however long Jesus' ministry was. For it states here, indicates here, length of ministry of Jesus on earth. 11.5. 3 actually. And I shall give 2 of my witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days while dressed in sackcloth. They will prophesy 1,260 days. What's that? 3.5 years? Okay. Dressed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 menorahs, those that stood before the master of the world. Okay, is this like 2 churches or 2 firm in the faith? And the 2 menorahs, those that stood before the master of the world, is that the church? 2 churches? Not too sure on that one. We'll have to look into that one. And if a human being would attempt to harm them, or do harm to them, fire emerges from their mouth and devours their enemies, and if a human chooses to do so, then he is destined to be killed by them. So let's have a look at 5. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, was satisfied to lower, to demean, or to break or hit them. So if they attack them, try to kill them, are satisfied to hit. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression is satisfied to hit. They feel that it's their duty to beat them up, to throttle them, etc. Literal Aramaic idiomatic figure of speech, a blessing for him. And if a human being would attempt to harm them, I think it was just to punch them over or beat them up or try and kill them, or to demean them verbally, mentally or physically, or to break them or hit them, to do damage to them. They feel satisfied to hit them, and that's what they should do. From these 2 witnesses, fire emerges from their mouth and devours their enemies. Okay. And if a human being would attempt to harm them, fire emerges from their mouth and devours their enemies. And if a human chooses to do so, then he is destined to be killed by them. They have the power or the authority to seize the sky or close up the sky, so that no rain in those days. There's no rain in those days, and they have power over the water to turn the waters to blood, and to strike the earth by all plagues, all manner of disease, pestilence, as often as they please. They've been given that power, that authority. Wow! And when they have concluded their testimony, and the carnivorous creatures that ascends out of the fiery abyss shall do battle with them and conquer them. Okay, is that okay? This demon, anti-man, man-hater, ascends out of the fiery abyss, or the cavern of hell, and tries to do battle with them and overcome them or be victorious over them. And their corpses will be on the wide streets of the great city. So they do kill them. Their corpses will be on the wide streets of the great city, that which will be called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. In Sodom, there'll be a modern Sodom and Egypt, a place of bondage or slavery, where their own master, that's what Egypt is termed at in Scripture. I've taken you out of bondage, or Egypt, slavery and bondage, where their own master was also crucified. Okay. It's talking about Jerusalem. Okay. So the bodies will be displayed in Jerusalem. And they saw those nations and generations and peoples and tongues. Okay, the people of those nations and generations with the many languages, saw their corpses for 3.5 days, and their corpses were not allowed to be set into the grave. So it was illegal to bury them. They weren't allowed to bury them. They had to be left there on display. And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and make merry and send gifts to each other, since the two prophets condemned those who dwelt on the earth. So you really got on their wick. So they were quite happy when they were finally killed. And after these 3.5 days, the spirit of life from God, or from Allah, descended into them. So they were given back that breath of life, so they became living beings again. They were resurrected, and they stood on their legs, and total paralysis fell over all those who saw them. They were so shocked that these two that they thought they had killed suddenly came back to life. Oh, what? We killed them, but they were like, so, yeah, couldn't handle it, so they fell over, probably fell over and died in shock. And they heard a great voice from heaven that said to them, ascend here, come up here. And they ascended to heaven on a cloud, and their enemies saw it. And at that moment, that very instant, there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell, and there were killed in the earthquake 7,000 names of human beings, and the rest were in total submission and gave glory to Allah, because they saw this spectacular event, right? And they realized, oh my gosh, God is real. Okay, they repented. They came under His will, and He gave Him all the glory, gave all the glory to God, to Allah. They praised Him for that miracle, what they witnessed. That second woe went, and behold, the third woe came quickly. So there's first and a second moment of horror or devastation, and behold, a third woe came upon them quickly, came upon people quickly. And the seventh angel blew, and there were voices and thunders that declared or proclaimed, may it come, the kingdom of the people of our Maya and His anointed one, and may He rule to the end of the universe, of all the universes, stating, bring the holy city from heaven down to earth, the kingdom of the people of our Master God and His anointed one, Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, and may he rule to the end of the universes of all the universes over us. Okay, and the 24 priests, those standing before the throne of Allah or God, who sit on their chairs, fell on their faces and worshipped Allah or God, as they said, "We acknowledge you, Maria Allah, our Master God, Allah or God, the one and only supreme over all, he who is, he who becomes, for you have established your power, O ruler and king. And the nations became angry, and there came your wrath, and the time of the dead to be judged, and to repay the wages of your servants." Okay, they get their rewards for their faith, their loyalty, their submission to his will, obeying his commandments, laws, etc., etc., to the prophets and the saints, and to those that submit or put their hope, their faith, their trust into your name, okay, to the small and to the fortunate, and to confound those who disrupted the earth. And the temple of Allah or God was opened in heaven, and the Ark of the Covenant was seen in the temple, and there was lightning and thunder and voices and a great earthquake and hail. So the temple of God was opened in heaven, and the Ark of the Covenant was seen in the temple, in the heavenly temple, in the temple of God. Yes, that's what it appears to be. And there was lightning and thunder and voices and a great earthquake and hail. And here is the footnotes, so you can look at each verse and ponder it, hopefully realize exactly what was going on. It's just 11:10, tormented to death. Oh, this must be the two prophets, the two witnesses. 11:10, literal Aramaic idiom, executed or tormented to death. Yeah, okay, they tortured them, tormented them to death. Where are we? And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and make merry and send gifts to each other. Yeah, here's a free present, bro. Celebrate that we killed them, that they finally killed them, got rid of them, those two pests, since the two prophets condemned those who dwelled on the earth. Okay, what's this? 10, 11. Okay, so this is the 11, where is it? Okay, those who had them killed when they are resurrected by God, given this spirit of life, so they came back alive, made animate, resurrected. They stood on their legs, and total paralysis fell over all those who saw them, because they were like the ones jumping up and down, yahooing, giving gifts to each other, exchanging gifts, because they thought that they got rid of them forever. They were killed off. They were killed. So payback for that mockery, etc. A total paralysis which fell over all those who saw them, looked upon them. And at that moment there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell, and there were killed in the earthquake 7,000 names of human beings, and the rest were in total submission and gave glory to Allah or God. That second woe went, and behold, the third woe came quickly, and the seventh angel blew, and there were voices and thunders that declared or proclaimed, "May it come, the kingdom of the people of our Maya or Master God and his anointed one, Yeshua Mashiach or Jesus the Messiah, and may he rule to the end of the universes of all the universes, or over us." Okay, to the very end of all, or for all eternity. And the 24 priests, those standing before the throne of Allah or God, who sit on their chairs, fell on their faces and worshipped Allah or God, as they said, and here's their utterance, what they said before him. Again, there's the footnotes, and you can pause this video at any point to read this translation from the original Galilean-Aramaic into English, and ponder it, think about it, so that you fully understand it. Define any words that you're not sure of, so you don't have any misunderstoods or words you have no definition for, which causes confusion and may cause you to take things out of context. Compare it to your modern Americanized modern Bible versions, whatever that may be, NIV, Living Bible, etc., and see the vast difference in translation and or meaning, and come to realize that you may have been hoodwinked. Right, you might have a Latinized form of Greek translated into English, or something similar, a copy of copies of copies of copies of copies, not scriptures faithfully translated in the nearest English, as close to what the original manuscripts are saying. They may have been translations of the modern vernaculars, Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek, or Latinized form of Greek into modern English. That's for you to do your personal research, establish the facts. When you come upon that and realize that what we're telling you is actually right, is actually true, okay, it's all up to you to verify that we at the Ministry of the Real Truth are actually telling you that truth, revealing it to you, exposing it to you for your sake, okay, as a believer. Okay, so you won't be fooled by these churches or these church leaders or these movements or these cults who are telling you something completely different, because their versions of the Bible are from one source who the book of Revelations names as the false church. We have provided evidence through videos, etc., of that truth, okay, that all people who are reading from these modern Americanized modern Bible versions don't have the scriptures from the original hidden and preserved manuscripts. They are from a certain source and are copies of copies of copies of copies of copies, deliberately corrupted by certain scribes and monks who translated from the supposed original Hebrew or Greek. They translated into Old Germanic, or from the Old Germanic into Old Latin, and then it was translated into Old English or Shakespeare speak, and through the centuries it developed and was translated using modern English or the Americanized English, and then put out in Bible format by Bible societies, the American Bible Society and similar, along with their guys. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, it's very informative, please subscribe to our channel, The Ministry of the Real Truth. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Add your comments, we much appreciate those, and we'll get back to you on those as soon as possible. Then go tell your friends, hey, look, we've been following this series and we've compared our American modern Bible versions with the supposed original Galilean-Aramaic manuscript scriptures translated faithfully into English by a native-born Aramaic speaking translator with 15 years experience, and we have noticed there is a vast difference. We think we may yeah, we may be being hoodwinked. We've done the personal research, our own personal research, studied it, and yes, the ministry of the real truth